Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Stand By for Adventure. Today, we're going to be talking about the new Marvel Multiverse role playing game, which you can see I have open here on. This is actually on Comixology, and I hate to report that I actually purchased something on Comixology because they changed their app a couple of months ago, and it's the most useless piece of garbage ever, and this is the only thing I've purchased since the change. I hope their sales are tanking, and I hope they fix the app very, very soon. And the interface on the Amazon website, it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. But it is nice to know that you can actually buy an electronic copy of this game as opposed to electronic copies of, say, D&D products for the most current version of the game, because it's nice to have electronic copies in the modern day. I don't know why Wizards of the Coast has continued to avoid that. No, I do know it's a stupid reason. Um, anyway, so I've got a physical copy too, so I might be looking at this as we go through. I wanted to kind of go through a little bit of this. I've read through the whole thing. It's a game, and it works, but they don't cover some things in the rules that I think they really, really should have in this play test version of the game. And I think that's the most important thing to point out. This is a playtest version. This is not a final version of the game. If it were up to me, this version would not have come out. It seems very odd. I think they wanted to do kind of what Wizards of the Coast did with their playtest for 5th edition, and make it available to everybody, let people play it, get feedback on it. But because it's Marvel, and yes, I think it's because it's Marvel, they wanted to charge money for it. I've worked with Marvel in the past. I think they're a fine company. They just are very much about let's make as much money as we possibly can, even if it doesn't serve the product best. In fact, even if it's completely antithetical to the product and we have to screw over our partners, we will do what we have to in order to make as much money as we possibly can. And if people are curious, I can go into that more, but it's a crappy way to run a company. Um, which stinks because I really like Marvel comics and the creators, a lot of them, and the stories, but the company, the business sense is just completely bonkers. Um, it keeps them in business, believe me, but people like me who have worked with them don't have very positive things to say about them because they do a lot of really shady behind the scenes stuff that I'm not cool with. Anyway, that's enough about Marvel. Let's talk about this game. Um, I found an interesting site online talking about how the numbers and the math in this game just don't line up. And I think that is an appropriate thing to say because of the main point that I'm going to make in this video. What they recommend in this game is, or what they recommend, what they show is how to play the game. You're rolling 3d6. It's the D616 system, 616, because that's the universe number that Alan Moore came up with when doing a bunch of cross-dimensional stuff, and the Marvel universe that we know of is named 616. The Miles Morales universe was something like 1024 or something like that. I forget exactly what it was. But it's, and in fact, is that? No, it's not double 616. Um, and anyway, it shows you how to play this game. You're rolling 3d6, you're adding some numbers to that roll, and the dice do something funky. So if, as you see over on the screen here, if you roll a 6, the Marvel symbol, which is a 1, and a 6, that's an ultimate fantastic roll, is the term, which is a silly term. It's basically like a critical hit, right? Because this isn't rolling a d20, it's instead rolling 3d6, so you have a scale between 3 and 18 as opposed to 1 and 20 on a d20. Um, they wanted to have some kind of like critical hit, and it made sense. Honestly, I think it's actually a very cool idea to have it be 616. And what this number means is that a 1 on the Marvel die actually counts as a 6, but it's better than an actual 6. So you end up having a 32% chance of getting uh, a, an 18 on a roll if the other two dice are sixes. Sorry, this is the game design part of my brain talking, and if that's confusing, I apologize. So because you can roll a 1 or a 6, each side of a die has a 16.66666% chance of showing up. So it's about a 33% chance that you are going to roll either a 1 or a 6 when you also roll 6s on both of the other dice. It still means the chances of rolling 6s is very slim, but it is a slightly better chance. Um, anyway, so if you roll a 616, you end up with an ultimate fantastic success, which is a good thing, and it allows you to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do, much like a critical hit in D&D allows you to do that sort of thing. This system also shares a lot with D&D, more than I think most people that I've seen talking about it have even brought up. Again, you're rolling basically the same numbers, 3 to 18 as opposed to a d20. It is a bell curve as opposed to a flat curve, flat distribution, I guess, of numbers, because you have an equal chance of rolling a 1 as a 20 on a d20, as a 10, as a 6, as a 5, as a 13, whatever. You will have a 5% chance of rolling any one of those numbers in any given die roll. That's not true on 3d6. On 3d6, you have something like a 45. I might be wrong on these numbers because I don't have it in front of me, but it's like a 45% chance of rolling an 11, which is the average of 3d6. Actually, it's 10.5. So rolling 10 or 11 is where you're most likely going to end up. The book itself starts out talking about how to roll the dice, what dice you need, and then it talks about the book itself. It covers wisely the be considerate, have a session 0, talk things over, find out what people aren't comfortable with, all the normal stuff all the stuff that has become very normal now that games are really huge in the public mind. Role-playing games are huge in the public mind, and you are going to have people at your table who may in fact not be comfortable having certain things talked about or covered or described in a game, and I think it's important to include that here. Normally in a superhero game you don't run into a lot of dark, twisted stuff, but it's possible that you could be interested in running a game like that, so it's better to talk about that stuff up front. I think that's a fantastic thing to include. And you don't want anybody at your table to be uncomfortable and feel bad. Core mechanics, again, you roll your 3d6. You are going to add them to some modifiers provided by your stats. The target numbers, so much like the difficulty class from D&D, you have target numbers. But what's really interesting about target numbers is they're not a static number. Your difficulty for tasks is based on your rank and changes depending on that rank. So something that is difficult for Spider-Man has the same modifier but a higher difficulty number than a difficult situation for me as a somewhat average person, probably pretty below average when it comes to the physical stuff, doing a difficult task for myself. Spider-Man, for some reason, has the same difficulty doing that. It kind of makes sense in the rules in terms of him just being so good, he really shouldn't even have to make a roll to do something that would be difficult to me, because what you're really concentrating on when you're playing Spider-Man, or what the GM is concentrating on, is presenting tasks that are difficult for Spider-Man, not difficult for a normal person. So if Spider-Man needed to jump up onto a table without. Sorry, I would need to make a roll to jump up onto a table, and that might be challenging or difficult for me as a over 200 pound, 6'2" tall guy. But Spider-Man, with his increased strength and everything, the GM just says, "Yeah, you jump up on the table. It's not a problem. You're super dexterous. You're super strong. You're not gonna bump your foot on the chair or the edge of the table and fall over on your face and break it and break your head." And Spider-Man just jumps up, so he doesn't have to make a roll for that. Things that are challenging for Spider-Man are going to be things like, okay, you're not sure if you can make the leap all the way across from one building to the next. That might be difficult for Spider-Man. So it's important to kind of keep that in mind as you're running the game. Simple things heroes shouldn't have to roll for. Difficult things are what they should be rolling for. Um, there are benefits to rolling fantastic rolls or ultimate fantastic rolls. You'll get into that as you play the game. It is a good thing because it allows you to do things you otherwise couldn't. Again, much like a critical hit. Um, you have edge and trouble. This is advantage and disadvantage. It's exactly the same. So much of this maps to D&D. I don't mind that at all. It's a way to make a game, and it's a way to start with a system that works and then change everything around it, even though it ends up being basically the same. So an edge allows you to re-roll one of your six-sided dice and take the better of the two rolls. You can have an edge multiple times. You can also have trouble. Trouble lets you, or tells the GM that they get to choose to have you re-roll a die when you roll it. The examples they show over here. So if you had an edge on this roll of a 4, a 2, and a 5, the 4 and the 5 are pretty good numbers, so you might want to choose to re-roll the Marvel die, which is that red die in the middle, and hope to either get, well, really, a 1 or any other number, because it's going to automatically be better than your 2. So you could roll a 3, 4, 5, 6, or you could roll a 1, and you would end up with a better number than you currently have. Now, the 151, if you have trouble, the GM is going to look over, I guess it's the narrator in this game. The narrator will look over and say, yeah, re-roll that 5, because the narrator wants you to roll low and to fail on the test. Trouble means you have a greater chance of not succeeding. Again, it kind of gets into the whole, like, what is it you and the GM are trying to tell here as a story, but typically trouble means re-roll your highest die and change it. They do stack, they do cancel each other out, so if you have edge and trouble, you don't take either into account, they just cancel each other out and you roll your normal dice. But if you had 2 edges and 1 trouble, then you would only have 1 edge. Again, it's just like, in many ways, it's just like having advantage or disadvantage, although in this case, you can have multiple instances of edge or trouble to cause you even more problems or give you bigger advantages. They give you a number of. I should also say here, I know Matt Forbeck pretty well. He and I used to drive. He was a very nice guy and would give me a ride back from Gen Con many, many years in a row because I grew up not far from where he lives. And we've known each other since his Pinnacle days back in the 90s. And super nice guy. I really like Matt a lot. And but it's interesting to see some of the design decisions here. And I'm familiar with a lot of Matt's game design work in the past, including his Brave New World game, which I thought was a lot of fun. Game mechanics were very different than this. It did use six-sided dice, but the system was very different. And he chose to include a number of characters in this book, which I think was a very good choice because you get to potentially play these characters. But the one thing that he doesn't really discuss in here, or isn't really discussed, is how the reasons why he set characters at certain levels. So for instance, Spider-Man here is rank 10. And one of the things I want to point out, and we can take a look here as we go a little bit deeper into the game, Sorry, that was it right there, rank. So if we look at rank, can I make this larger? No, probably not, because I don't know how to use this interface because it sucks. Sorry, that's just a little more frustration with comicsology. So your rank is a measure of your character's experience, training, and raw power. It also determines how many points a player can spend on ability scores and how many power sets, powers, and traits a hero can pick. It also works with the character's archetype to determine their action modifier, health, and focus. So rank in this game is your level, flat out. That's just what it is. You have a new character. You could start at rank 1. You could start at rank 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any rank you want. You and the GM can work together to come up like, this is the power level of the game I want to try and run. And that being the case, at first rank or first level, you are going to have a lot fewer health and karma and fewer powers and lower stats than if you were a higher rank or a higher level. The way these ranks break down in the game, or the descriptors they use, is rank 1 is very much super starting out character, not very many choices in terms of powers, not particularly super tough, but better than an average person. Rank 5, you would be a relatively low powered kind of neighborhood superhero kind of thing, still starting out. Rank 10, and again, think of these, if you're familiar with D&D, think of these as levels. So a rank 5 is effectively a 5th level character. Rank 10 is effectively a 10th level character. And you can see on the page we just looked at a minute ago, Spider-Man, they have written up as a rank 10 character. It's right straight up above my finger here, right next to the Spider-Man picture, there's a little sort of rhomboidal shaped section that says rank 10. So what Matt, or whoever wrote this character up, decided was Spider-Man was going to be a rank 10 character. Could have written him up really at any level, or at any rank, and it would have been fine. But it works at rank 10, so that's where he put Spider-Man. And I think that's a fine choice, but that's all it was a choice. And if you don't think Spider-Man should be rank 10, you think he should be rank 15 or 20 or even 25, you could do that. This was just the choice that he put this character in here at, and I think that has resulted in some confusion, because then there are other characters later in the book that are of similar rank that you maybe think shouldn't be, or are higher rank that you think maybe shouldn't be, like Black Panther. I'm not sure who's tougher between Black Panther and Spider-Man, at least in terms of if I were to write the characters up. Spider-Man has way more appearances, way more experience than Black Panther, but Black Panther is the king or prince of a country and has a lot of other resources and has a lot of technology that Spider-Man doesn't necessarily have access to. So they just made decisions and wrote up characters at certain power levels. The thing that they don't cover that I really wish they would, in addition to coming up with character ranks, is it's not fair in this game to compare a rank 10 character like Spider-Man to a rank 25 character like Captain Marvel and think they're going to be able to fight each other in a fair way, because that would be the equivalent in a lot of ways, not precisely, but in a lot of ways, to a level 10 D&D character fighting a level 10 or challenge rank a level 25 or rank 25, challenge rating 25 bad guy in D&D. So you would expect the 25th level character or 25th challenge rating character to just mop the floor with a challenge rating 10 character, especially a single one, right? So the site I was mentioning earlier, somebody had gone through and figured out all the math, and it was like, Captain America is rank 10 or 15, I think. Again, that was just a decision that they made. And he has almost no chance of hitting somebody like T'Challa, Black Panther, or Captain Marvel, or doing damage to them. And that doesn't make sense in terms of the comics, but if you kind of tightened up all the ranks of the characters so that instead of Captain Marvel being a rank 25 character and Captain America being a 15, maybe have Captain America be a 12 and Captain Marvel be 15, or have your games concentrate on, I have rank 10 characters and rank 15 characters, or rank 5 and rank 10. And you're going to end up with a much fairer way of running your game because characters are going to be facing off against things that are basically of their same power level and are not literally 10 to 15 levels higher, and you're going to expect that that's somehow going to be a fair fight. That's not going to work at all. Um, it's like I said, it's very, very interesting to see the parallels between this and D&D. There's even things like the damage types are absolutely cribbed from D&D. That I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with any of this being cribbed from D&D because that system works just fine. This is just altering it in a few ways, and I like it, but I dislike that they don't point out how significant your rank is to how powerful your character is. And a rank 10 character should not be fighting a rank 25 character. That just should not happen. It will not turn out well. The rank 25 character will pound them unless there is some kind of story way to get around their power, which often happens in comic books. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to run the game, is don't feel like you can throw something that's 10 ranks higher at your player characters and expect them to win, because they probably won't unless they write up completely unbalanced characters, which is also possible in the game. Um, there's some neat things in here in terms of like coming up with your backstory. You have traits related to your backstory. You have an origin that could be alien, high tech, magic, mutant, uh, what's that say, special training, or weird science. And then you have professions such as criminal, doctor, lawyer, journalist, investigator, outsider, ruler, scientist, soldier, spy, student, and tycoon. And again, these are ones that are included in the book, but I'm sure there's going to be more eventually. And all of those give you different traits. Traits are kind of like feats to some extent, or special abilities, class features from D&D, that sort of thing. They could cover any number of different things. Um, Combat is pretty straightforward. You take 3d6, add your might and any other bonuses you get from powers, and try to beat the person you're attacking. Try to beat their uh, dodge, their agility defense, which is a static number, and we will get to look at those here in a second. Um, I'll come back to it. And let's see here. During combat, this is what this chapter is about. You take your turn. You can delay your actions by holding. You can reserve an action. You, much like D&D, you have effectively a standard action, a move action, and a bonus action. This has easy action, standard action, and move actions, and then reactions, also from D&D. And it's not just from D&D. This is terminology that has come up over the years in game design and game mechanics for things that just make a lot of sense, right? So it's very D&D, but it's also very modern game design for a game that is very tactical and hands-on and not necessarily pure storytelling. Um, it has rules for movement and combining different types of movement. So if you fly and run, or swing and glide and run, or teleport, or how your speed is affected if you sneak, all sorts of stuff like that. So there's the rules cover pretty much everything. Falling damage is just like D&D. It's 10 feet for a d6 of damage, although in this game you roll a maximum of 3d6 ever, and you never roll 10d6, 5d6, anything like that. It's always 3d6, and then maybe you could re-roll some of the dice, hoping for better numbers. But the way they handle damage is it's 1d6 for every 10 feet for the first 30 feet, and then you just add 5 damage for every feet beyond that, up to a maximum of, I wish this would go away, up to a maximum of 1 plus 150. So they just, instead of having you roll handfuls of dice, you're rolling 3d6 for a little bit of a randomizer, and then adding what would normally be d6 rolls, effectively, but it's even higher than that. It's not an average of 3.5, it's 5 points per 10 feet. I hope I'm explaining that correctly, or at least in a way that makes sense. So instead of rolling all those dice, you're just adding damage. There's different damage types that I mentioned. Acid, what's that? Acid bashing, which would be bludgeoning. Cold, energy. Energy would maybe be force in D&D. Not fire, because fire is heat in this. Then there is force, meaning telekinetic, as opposed to force in the D&D sense. Piercing, psychic, and shock, which obviously would be lightning damage. I think there's one other, and of course this interface is getting in my way. Oh, slashing. So there is no sonic. There's no sound damage, sonic, thunder, whatever you want to call it. There is psychic, so they've got that covered. But I know there's at least 1 or 2 other damage types that aren't covered here, such as poison. Like I said, there's no just generic force, like affects anything, disintegration, that sort of thing. Maybe energy covers that. Maybe I don't know. You have damage resistance to subtract, much like armor. And then when you find the difference between the damage the person rolls and subtract your armor, then you subtract that number from your health. When you get down to 0 health, you are knocked out. Heroes can hold back on their damage so that they don't kill people, which is assumed in the game. So if you're going to run something that's different, like you want to run a Wolverine or Punisher style game where people actually do get killed, you could just say, okay, that rule doesn't apply, and if you slash somebody, you have to tell me if you are not going to kill them, otherwise I'm going to assume your blades kill them, or your guns kill them. It works, it's fine. Again, the important thing to know is you want your characters to be within a few ranks of each other. I would say probably within 5 ranks of each other. So if you have a group of characters who are rank 10, they could have a fairly easy fight against some rank 5 characters and a really super challenging fight against a rank 15 character. And I think that's the best way to play this game, is keeping things a little closer together on the scale. Otherwise, it's not going to make much sense. But what that also means is a lot of the write-ups in this book aren't going to be super useful, because they run the gamut from power, or from rank 1 or 5 all the way up to 25, and are only there to give you examples of the sorts of characters you can create at those levels. I wish that had been stated flat out in the rules, because it would help so much with these discussions of the game being unbalanced and unfair, and how are you supposed to have a rank 10 character fighting against or alongside a rank 25 character and have them feel effective. They're not going to, unless they're doing something else. And the rules do mention that a little bit, where somebody like a rank 25 character might be pounding away on a bad guy, and the lower rank characters are taking care of clearing out civilians, maybe achieving some other goal, putting together a piece of technology that will ultimately defeat the villain, that sort of thing. That can be a little advanced when it comes to running a role playing game, so I wish they had been more upfront about how to run the game to make it as fun and as balanced as possible for everyone at the table. There is some interesting stuff with damage. You can knock someone out, you can demoralize them, you can kill them, obviously, and you can shatter them. So if you knock somebody out or kill them, that's based on the amount of damage you're doing to them physically. You can demoralize or shatter someone by dealing basically like social, psychic, or mental damage to someone, which can just kind of wipe them out and make them give up, basically. Um, Killing is equal to shattering in the rules. So if you shattered someone's psyche, that would be the same basic effect as killing that person. Um, Although they would potentially be able to come back through like seeing counseling and things like that and recovering a sense of themselves a little bit more. And it does lead, I think, actually to some interesting things in terms of the comics and mimicking that style of play. Um, the Sorry, that style of play meaning like when you see villains who have been defeated and they're just all I'm defeated and everything sucks and blah blah blah, and then they go hide and or go to jail and they're locked up for a long time, but then they come back and they've recovered themselves, and I think that's actually kind of interesting. Um, there are conditions which should also be familiar to people coming from D&D. There is a new one here called bleeding, which is interesting. So if you hit somebody with an effect that could cause them to bleed, they will continue to lose health every round based off of that until they take some time to actually bandage themselves or heal some damage or something like that. There's blinded, deafened, demoralized, which I briefly touched on. It has an effect in the game. Grabbed or grabbing, so which is just grappling. Paralyzed, pinned, prepared, which is new. Prone, shattered, I mentioned. Sneaking, stunned, surprised, unconscious. So those are all different conditions that a character could have or inflict on someone else. There's rules for attacking objects, dealing damage to them. I actually think they're fairly good and basic and easy to use, and will allow you to do things like have the thing punch somebody through a building and reflect passing through a wall, passing through a window, passing through an interior door, and then hitting another interior wall and finally stopping. It's very simplified, as you might imagine, because it's would be ridiculous to try and make it work in a way that took every single possibility into account. It would be impossible to do all the math for that. So I think this simplified version is actually quite good, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. It also includes rules for things like making a hole in a wall so you can pass through it. Great addition to the rules. It just lays it out right in front of you. There you go. Can I bust through this wall? Yes, you can break through the wall. Here's how big of a space it leaves when you do that. Thought it was a great idea. There is a chapter on creating a character. However, one of the main things here is the only real powers included in this version of the book are the powers that they needed to include in order to... sorry, I'm just checking something out over here. In order to write up the characters that are here. So you're going to see rules for characters with armor. You're going to see character or rules for characters with spider powers, flight, regeneration, claws. We'll get to all the different characters. But they do the character creation kind of interestingly. Depending on your rank, you get a certain number of points that you can split between your stats. The stats also map exactly to D&D stats, and in this game, it actually follows the acronym MARVEL. So you have might, agility, vigilance. No, might, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, logic. Which obviously might is strength, agility is dexterity, resilience is constitution. The last three are in a little different order. Vigilance is wisdom because it's your situational awareness, environmental awareness. Ego is effectively your charisma, and logic is your intelligence. So they map exactly to the D&D stats, and in fact, the ranks also match pretty much to the D&D stats, or the ranks that you can have in those different stats. Because average is 0, which in D&D would be a 10 or 11, so plus a 0 modifier. And then better and better and better are 1, 2, 3, 4, which 4 is the human maximum, which would be an 18 in D&D, and anything 5 or higher is considered beyond human. Same thing goes for negative numbers. So if you have a negative 1, negative 2, negative 3 to 4, that's the same as an 8, 6, 4, or 2 in D&D. So the scale is also very much the same, but it goes much higher. I hope that makes sense to everyone. And I think it's helpful also to think of it in terms of D&D because you get more of a sense of how good is this character, especially if it's mostly an average human. You can, I have a 4 in this stat. That means I'm super great at it, like Olympic level in this game, and as opposed to having a 0 in it, which means I'm just as good as an average person. Again, depending on your rank, you get a certain number of points to split up between your stats. Here's the table on that. At rank 1, you get 5 points to split between your stats. So that gives you an idea of how low-powered a rank 1 character could be. Probably a good example of this power level, in my opinion, would be like the Power Pack from Marvel. Love that comic. Thought it was great back in the 80s. Still love those characters. But it could also be like some of the starting characters on My Hero Academia. You could easily start a My Hero Academia game at rank 1 and then kind of quickly ramp people up as they gain some experience and go through some stories. If you decide to start at another rank, so if you're at rank 1, you get 5 points to split between your stats. At rank 2, you get 10. At rank 3, you get 13. At rank 4, you get 16. At rank 5, you get 18. At rank 6, you get 20. So it increases significantly. And you can see a rank 5 character has 18 points to split between their stats compared to a rank 1 character who has 5. So even that small difference between 1 and 5 ranks is a huge difference in what the higher powered characters' stat levels are going to be. So again, the closer you can keep the ranks of your characters in your game to each other, the more balanced and the more fair / realistic / what everyone at the table is going to expect from the game is going to match up. So you want to stick pretty close together with regards to the power ranks for characters. There are different modifiers to your abilities. You get different traits from your backgrounds. There are powers. You have things like your other scores, health, focus, and karma. You have an initiative modifier, your speed. Speed is also just like D&D effectively, where every 5 feet is 1 square, and everybody's movement starts, I think, at 25 plus your agility. So if you had a 5 agility, you would have 30 movement, which is 6 squares, which is what a starting D&D character has. So average is a little bit slower, but normally you're going to be moving basically in the same manner as in D&D. So you can use a tactical map if you want to. Each square is a 5-foot square. You have a 25 move. You can move 5 of those squares. Again, if it sounds like D&D, that's because this is basically D&D completely reskinned with some slight rules changes. You also figure out your fight damage, your ranged damage. There is size modifiers in this because you could indeed be really small, kind of small, average size, big, huge, and they run through all of that. They give an example of creating a character, which is fine. It's good to have that in here. And then they also help to show you, like, how do you come up with your character's information, what sort of high concept does the character have, come up with their code name, their real name, their gender, their height, their weight, their eye color, their hair color, skin color, any distinguishing characteristics. And that could be anything from Tony Stark's Van Dyke beard and mustache to Storm's eyes turning white when she uses her powers, or even Cyclops's ruby quartz glasses and the fact that he has glowing red eyes if you could actually see them, and anything that might be significant to the character. You record your occupation, any team they belong to, if they have a base of operations, come up with their history and personality, just like you would with any character that you need to have some sense of what they're like. This part of the book actually really surprised me because, as you can see right here, this is a big table of numbers, which I honestly did not really expect to see in a mass market, huge public, well-known IP that lots and lots of people are going to be interested in. But here we go. They apparently were okay with lots and lots of numbers. The unfortunate thing is the numbers printed in here, they've already come out with errata for them to change what they say. And one of the things that became obvious to me as I was looking at this is they just assume for the thing you are best at, it will increase every level by 1d6. And I kind of liken it to a fireball in D&D. So at 5th level, you can cast a fireball that does 8d6 of damage. And if you cast it at a higher level, it does a little bit higher damage. Instead, in this, what they say is, if you're good at something, every level you get a d6. And after the first 3d6, it just becomes +3 or +4, which, if you add the two together, it's the average of 2d6 is a 7. So one level is +3, the next level is +4, then +3, +4, +3, +4, +3, +4, +3. And so instead of rolling the dice, you're just adding a flat average to your die roll. But you are always rolling 3d6, or some number of d6, most likely 3d6 for a hero. The different archetypes that you get to choose from, and this will dictate how, let's see here, this will dictate, depending on your rank, it shows you what your modifiers to things and your level caps, like how high you can have an ability. For might, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, and logic. It also dictates your fight damage, your range damage, how many health you get at every level, which is basically your hit points. In the case of a blaster, you get 4 health at every rank. I said level before, see? So 4 points at every rank you get as a blaster, and you get 6 points of focus, which is like your mental toughness. Fight damage for somebody like Cyclops here is, and this is the column right here, it's like the 3rd or 4th one on the chart from this far side. Fight damage is at rank 1, 1d6, rank 2, 1d6, rank 3, 2d6, rank 4, 3d6, Rank 5, 3d6 plus 4. Rank 4, 3d6 plus 4. Rank 7, 3d6 plus 7. So again, you can see how it's slow progression, but it's just 1d6, 2d6, 3d6, plus 3, plus 4, plus 4, plus 7, plus 7, plus 10, etc., etc., or actually probably plus 11. Whereas the range damage goes just straight, as if you're adding a d6 each time. 1d6, 2d6, 3d6, 3d6 plus 4, plus 7, plus 11, plus 14, plus 18, plus 21, plus 28, or 25, 28, 32, 35, 39, etc., etc. So instead of rolling 10d6, you roll 3d6 and add, what would that be? 25. That works. And then on the next pages, you have other archetypes that you go through. Here's the Blaster, here's the Bruiser, the Genius, here's the Polymath. The Polymath is the good at basically everything kind of character. Maybe like the Bard, effectively. The Protector, the Striker. So those are your different character classes. And again, just to run through those so we have them in mind once more. Come on. You have the Blaster, the Bruiser, the Genius, the Polymath, the Protector, and the Striker. And all the characters that they have in here somehow map to those archetypes / classes. And when you write up a character, you will need to determine what is your character. Is your character a protector like Captain America or the Invisible Woman? Are they a striker like, as the picture shows here, Daredevil or Iron Fist? Are they a blaster like Captain Marvel or Cyclops or Havoc? That sort of thing. Bruiser like the Hulk. Polymath, for some reason they put Thor in the Polymath. I might have put him in the Bruiser, but maybe he is actually good at everything. And Iron Man, I think, is a Polymath as opposed to a Genius. Spider-Man is a Polymath. So there you go. So you're going to pick one of these archetypes as your class, effectively. Then they give a little bit more information on backstories and traits. If you have, for instance, as part of your origin, you will choose your background. And if you, for example, have the magic origin, the character's powers arise from supernatural means. Examples are Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the Scarlet Witch, and it gives you a trait, and that trait is supernatural. If, however, you were like Thor, a god, you would get the traits God Heritage, Enhanced Physique, and Worshipped. And all of those are then defined in this other section of the book that defines all these various traits. If your character has some kind of profession, again, say Thor with Dr. Don Blake, he would have been a healthcare worker or doctor, so he has the traits Clinician, First Aid, and Prescription Pad. So, and again, those are all described elsewhere as we get into the traits. So, we turn the page here. That's not what I wanted to do. We turn the page here, and here are all the traits. It explains what they all are, what they're capable of doing for you. Let's find one of these that will make... so we just mentioned Clinician under the healthcare worker. The character has an edge, so they get to re-roll a d6 when they roll their dice on a logic medicine check to determine what is medically wrong with someone they examine. So these are skills, they're feats, they're all sorts of stuff. You can see on the page right here, the fourth one up is Berserker, and that's to be able to have a character like the Hulk. You can take a trait such as Berserker. There's a good variety of traits in here, and I think they're all good. One of the things that quickly happens, however, is you get so many of these traits, and they all do something different that it's almost required that you have this book in front of you to be able to look up what all those traits do. Maybe they'll have a character sheet or some kind of online interface that will allow you to enter in the traits your character has, and then if you mouse over them, it will pull up a little pop up that shows you what that thing does. Otherwise, you're going to be looking through these books a lot to find out exactly what it is your traits do, because you could have 10, 12, 15 different traits that all have some different effect, like giving you an edge or trouble or allowing you to do something that normally isn't possible or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff that happens there. You do get some extra traits based on your rank, which is what this chart right there is showing us. So at rank 1, you get a single extra trait that you can just choose. At rank 2, you still only have one. At rank 3, you have one. At rank 4, 5, 6, you have 2. 7, 8, 9, you have 3. So you do get some extra traits as you go up in level, in rank, sorry. You can see some examples of artwork here that they pull from the book. So Hawkeye obviously has the death trait. And Blob Herman here also has something like the extreme appearance trait, which obviously has an effect on how people interact with him. There's really some great stuff here, and you can do a lot of stuff just with these traits to define your character and give them a unique personality and appearance, and I think they're well done. Then there are powers, and again, the powers that are listed here are really only the powers that they needed to create the characters that are in this book. You can see again right here, this little green table is telling you how many powers you get depending on your rank. So at rank 1, you can select a single power set, and I'll explain what that is. It's kind of a tree of powers, and you can choose one power from it. So definitely low level. So if you have something like an energy blaster, or you're playing a blaster character and it has energy blast as a power or whatever it's called in this, you would get one power off of that tree. So you could shoot a blast, say. As you go up in rank, you get more powers, and that is effectively like when you go up in level in D&D, and whatever character class either gives you some new special ability, or you gain access to new spells, you gain a new level of spells, you gain some other class trait or feature, you gain a feat from being 4th level or 8th level or whatever, or your bonus feats from being a fighter. So that's what this is trying to reflect in a lot of ways, and trying to keep it balanced. But again, if you had a level 10 character in D&D fighting a level 25 character in D&D, level 10 is losing. Just flat out, that's what's going to happen. And that's the same thing that will happen here, because it doesn't make any sense to have a level or a rank 25 character who can have 3 different power sets with a total of 17 different powers running around with a character of rank 10 who actually can also have 3 power sets but only 10 powers in there. Keep in mind, those ranks also mean the rank 25 characters has 15 more ranks worth of health, worth of damage, worth of karma, worth of psyche, or whatever it's called in this, I forget. Focus, that's it. So there is a ton of difference between these levels, and again, that's not communicated strongly enough for people who want to sit down and play this game. If you're sitting down to play this game, I recommend starting everybody off at the same exact power rank, whether that's 1 or 5 or 8 or 10, 15, whatever you want to do. Make sure it's across the board for all your characters. The powers themselves, much like traits, you're going to have to refer back to the book to see exactly what they do. So again, I recommend picking up this little book. It's $10 at full retail, and you can buy it electronically via Amazon, or you can buy it physically at a game store or on Amazon. Hopefully, you will go to the game store. I'm sure lots and lots of game stores have this in stock because it's a super reasonable price, even if you are paying for an incomplete game that is not in its final form. Despite all the things that I've said about this that some people may take as incredibly negative, I think this is a very well implemented game, and I have worked for years and years on Mutants and Masterminds. I was the line developer for 8 years, so I am very familiar with superhero games and have been a superhero fan since the original V&V in like 1982 when I picked it up. I played V&V, I played Champions, I played Guardians, I played other games that nobody even remembers anymore. TMNT when that was around, the Palladium system, Heroes Unlimited. I mean, I've played nearly every game that's a superhero game that's out there. The old Marvel Cortex system, which I thought was a fine game, even if it was way overly complicated for a game that billed itself as being indie and easy to use. If it takes 60 pages to explain the rules, that's not easy. And that's what that book took. But there's great stuff in here. And you can have a battle suit, you can have blades, you can have cybernetics, you can have... These are the power sets. Firearms, energy control, martial arts, plasticity, shield bearer, spider powers, super strength, tactical mastery, weather control. There are also utility powers like additional limbs, camouflage, environmental protection, fastball special, flight, rank 1, flight 1, flight 2, which has different ranks, healing factor, heightened senses, inspiration, ram, sturdy, thermal vision, tough, wisecracker, and then it defines the powers. So powers, again, think of powers like a magic spell, right? It has to have things like the power set it comes from, any prerequisites it needs, the type of action it takes, if it has a trigger for a reaction, the duration of the power, its cost, often in focus, its range, the effect it has, and then durations such as 1 round, instantaneous, maintained, permanent, sustained, and then you get to pick your powers. Here is, let's see here, page 64. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Yes, something did go wrong because I pressed the wrong mouse because I have too many things open on my computer. So here's an example of the power list. So you can see they're kind of built like trees. And if you start on the far side, this far side, they kind of go down in order. So I'm going to start with this top one on the top box up there is for Battlesuit. That first little white box says Anti-Dazzle Optics. The next one down says Armor 1. And then if you go across from there, Armor 2, Armor 3, Armor 4, going down still, is Effect Resistance, then Extended Reach that splits out into Stilt Steps, or Extended Reach, so like Machine Man could shoot out his arm to grab somebody. Lock On is the next one down, then Mighty 1, Mighty 2, Mighty 3, Mighty 4 goes across, and the one on the bottom of that first box is Titanic Frame. Then there's the Blades power set. The Cybernetics power set is on the bottom here. In this column, we have energy control and firearms. So before I mentioned if you had a blaster, you could have energy control. And if they were a rank 1 character, they would choose between these first 3 powers that are listed here. The top one is energy absorption. The next one down, that then branches off to the right on your screen, I think, is energy beam, and then that can spread to energy wave, energy blast, supernova, or it can go down to dazzle. And then the third one down here is illumination. So, and with that you could attempt to blind people or create holographic illusions, that sort of thing, dazzle people. This other box right here is for firearms. On the next page, you've got martial arts and plasticity, then shield bearer, spider powers, super strength. So you can see, and these are all the powers that are in the game: tactical mastery and weather control. Those are all the power sets in the game. So you can see how in the final game there will be many, many, many more powers. And one of the things that I kind of like, kind of don't like about this version of the rules is it gives you enough that you probably will be able to house rule and come up with some of your own powers in the next year or however long until the final game ships. But that also means you might come up with stuff that you like better than what the final rules end up being. Um, However, I like the way these trees work. I think they help to maintain a consistent theme to your characters. And even with the few options that are listed here, you could come up with some pretty unique characters if you have two or even three different power sets and you choose, maybe you choose battlesuit, blades, and energy control, and you're some kind of cool looking death robot set of armor, or you choose something like what energy control, uh, super strength, and weather control, and so you have a completely new combination of powers that are all yours. And even if they are based off of things from the Hulk and Cyclops and Storm, you might choose different powers within those power sets to create something completely new and different. Then you see on the following pages after these power trees are the definitions of all these powers. And again, they're defined kind of like spells are in D&D. So they have the power set they're from, their prerequisites, the kind of action it requires, what triggers it, their duration, their cost and focus, the effect that they have, and the character sheet is going to be really difficult to note all of this information down on. There is a little bit of room, but not a lot. So I, again, recommend having a physical copy of the book for yourself or an electronic copy that you can look at so you can look up your powers when you want to use them, because it will be necessary. This is a weird layout because that's 3 pages and not 2. Odd. But this continues to define some of this stuff. I'll read one of these powers. In fact, I'm on this page here with camouflage. And let me read that. Camouflage. The character can blend into the background to avoid detection. Power set, none. So this is one that you can just choose. It's not part of a set. It does take one of your power choices, though. So prerequisite is none. Action, easy. So you don't need to dedicate like a significant amount of energy to it. Duration is sustained, so you just need to continue to concentrate on it. And the effect is the character has an edge on agility stealth checks, and enemies have trouble on vigilance perception checks against them. So they're not fully invisible, but they are really going to be difficult to spot because not only do they have an edge on hiding, everybody who tries to perceive them has trouble on trying to do that. So they're the character with camouflage is rolling 3d6 and re-rolling one of those to get a higher number, hopefully. And then anybody trying to perceive them is rolling 3d6 and re-rolling the best die, hoping to get a lower number. So pretty effective. But again, are you going to remember that exact thing when you have 6 or 7 different powers, or if you're rank 25, 17 different powers on your character sheet? It's a lot to keep track of. So I recommend the book. Let's see here. We will continue to go through here. There's nice art in here. It's all taken from the comics, obviously. Very handy thing to be able to do when you have a licensed product. We did that in Mutants and Masterminds on the DC superhero game that we did, like 10 years ago. And, man, gorgeous, gorgeous art. Let's see healing factor, kill zone, leaping leg lock, leg sweep, lightning barrage, lightning strike, lock on, mighty 1, mighty 2, mighty 3, mighty 4, nature sense, on your feet, operations center. So there's all sorts of different stuff that is in here to hopefully create your own unique character from. There's going to be even more in the final rules. I don't know how well balanced all of these things are, but considering they're starting with what is basically a D&D base for the rule system in general, it's going to be generally balanced, but again, you want to stay pretty close to each other in terms of what ranks your characters are and the ranks that they are facing off against. The thing that is nice about this is if you're playing a rank 5, rank 10, rank 15 or higher character and you're fighting thugs, they're really only going to be probably like rank 1 or 2 combatants. If you're playing rank 1 characters, that's a huge challenge. If you're playing rank 5, it's dealable. It's probably a decent fight, so that's good. Rank 10, probably going to clean the floor with some low rank thugs and henchmen, and that's appropriate. And then obviously you'll have powers that may help you even more to get different sorts of abilities to handle groups of low powered characters. And here's the characters that they've included. So you've got Black Panther, who they've put at rank 15. I really take all of the ranks that they have for these characters with a grain of salt, and if Black Panther were important to the game that I was running and my characters were all rank 10, I might leave Black Panther at rank 15 just so that he seems more impressive and experienced than the player characters, if that's the goal. If they're supposed to be equal to him, then maybe I would make them start at rank 15, or I would rewrite the Black Panther and make him rank 10 or rank 12 or something like that. Whatever seemed to make him work best for the setting that I'm working on. Captain America, also rank 15. Some of his stat choices I think were a little weird. One of the things that you can't really see on here, let me see if I can hold this up to the camera a little bit better. If we are looking at Captain America here, we see, sorry, this is really confusing. I need to be over here. This column here says defenses, and the defenses are effectively your saving throws. So if Captain America, for example, were trying to hit himself, he rolls 3d6 and adds 13, and he is trying to target, if he's fighting himself, he's trying to target his defense of 24. So he needs to roll an 11 or better on 3d6, and 11 happens to be average. So he has a 50-50 chance of hitting himself in combat. I don't know if those numbers are exactly right. That's just how this example works out. And in fact, if we look at somebody like the Black Panther actually has a 6 might, which puts his modifier at a plus 19. So if Black Panther were trying to punch Captain America, he would only have to roll a 5 on 3d6 to hit him. I don't think that actually is reflective of how good a fighter Captain America is, but again, these are choices that I didn't make. These are choices that Matt or whoever wrote these characters up made. And I say he would hit Captain America, but it's also entirely possible Captain America has a reaction ability with his shield to be able to block an incoming attack so that he doesn't actually get hit, and I haven't really taken that into account. It's entirely possible that exists. Captain America, interestingly, is a polymath. I had not noticed that. So he's good at pretty much everything. You can see all his powers down here on the bottom, and his traits. So let's go through this. So if we're looking at Captain America here, on this side, it shows his abilities: might, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, logic. Then it gives his initiative modifier, speed, flight damage, range damage. damage for his shield, damage reduction from his shield, his size, and his karma. And then underneath it, in this white area, are his powers. So under Shield Bearer, which is one of his power sets, he has Do This All Day, Hurled Shield Bash, Immovable, Ricochet Shield, which is like Ricochet with a shield. Don't know why they called it that. It could have just been called Ricochet. Shield 4, so that has multiple levels, and he has it at 4th level. And Shield Bash. And then in the second column in that little white area, he also has the Tactical Mastery power set, which includes, for him, Battle Plan, Change of Plans, Combat Support, and Operations Center. And then he also has a utility power of Inspiration. So, as you can see, his powers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different powers to keep track of for Captain America in combat. Then, so you can see where the book would come in useful. Then, in this long read section here, it gives his biography, a history, his personality, his backstory, and then the very bottom of this, like kind of the section that's right next to the white, this white area here, lists all of his traits. So these are, in addition to his powers, these are traits that also have an effect on your dice rolls and what you're doing in the game. His traits are Battle Ready, Combat Expert, Combat Reflexes, Combat Trickery, Military Connections, Public Identity, Public Speaking, Signature Weapon, his shield, Situational Awareness, and Weird. So he has 10 more traits that are also need to be kept track of during the game, because you might have something happen that your combat reflexes come into play, or your combat trickery comes into play, and you need to look it up and figure out, like, what am I going to do when my turn comes around? So there's a lot of stuff to remember and keep track of, which brings me to my next point. It might be best to start off at a really low rank and slowly work your way up. Maybe session by session, start at rank 1 for your first session, and then go immediately to rank 2 at your second session, rank 3 at your third session, rank 4 at your fourth session, rank 5 at your fifth session, so that everybody can get used to their powers and traits and what they're capable of doing, and it feels more natural as opposed to jumping in at rank 5 or 10 when you have all these different abilities and you're not familiar with them at all, and it's going to slow everybody down. I think that's what I would probably do, is start off really low and quickly accelerate people to a higher level or a higher rank so that they can get familiar with their abilities as they do it. Captain Marvel here you can see is a rank 25 blaster. She is ridiculously powerful. I completely disagree with where she is on the power scale, but that's just me. I would probably put her at a 20 at most. Groot rank 15. Iron Man also rank 15. Completely disagree with that. He should be much higher. Rocket Raccoon rank 10. I don't think they liked Rocket Raccoon. They did not give him very good stats, and he's not very effective. Miles Morales Spider-Man. They also mentioned in Miles Morales the world that he is from. What was his original world? 616 is where he is now. They had it on here. Aha, 1610. That was it. I think I did get that right. So he was originally from Earth 1610 and has been transferred over to the 616 universe because he was popular. And he is actually kind of interesting to add to the Spider-Man universe. And he's ranked 10, which I think is a pretty good power level. It's like I said, it's a choice. That's where they put him. And rank 10 might be a really good power level for characters in any game. And it would allow somebody, if they wanted to play this version of Spider-Man. Storm, rank 15. I think that probably sounds about right. And she has, again, a bunch of weather control powers. Thor is only rank 20. I would have put him at the very top of the power level. I would have him absolutely be a 25. I don't know why he's a 20. But again, that's just the choice that was made. If I were running him in a in a Marvel game, and all the characters were level 10, rank 10. Sorry, I'm just going to keep doing that. If all the characters in my group were rank 10, Thor at rank 20 I think would be fine. So I would use this right up for that. Storm at rank 15 would also be fine. Captain America, Iron Man, I think they should maybe be bumped up a little bit. But that's just me complaining about other people. Wolverine at rank 10 I think is an insult, but they probably only needed rank 10 to give him all the powers that he has, and that seems strange. He probably should at least be equal to Storm in terms of power level, even though they're completely different in terms of what they can do. Um, but yeah, if you have a game like this where Wolverine is complete, I can write up Wolverine at power at rank 10. Then what happens if he gains levels? Can he do something different with those power sets and power slots that he'll be gaining? Can he turn them into something else? Is he just finished as a character? Do you just run him at rank 10 because that's Wolverine that's him? There you go. So that's a little weird. But again, if you wanted to, you could play Wolverine at rank 10 and probably have a really good time with him. And then there's a section on the narrator, how to run the game, if you're playing on a grid, if you're playing on a map at all, if you should ignore diagonals, which I also disagree with, but I understand the reasoning behind it. Um, and if you're playing Theater of the Mind versus tactical map, that sort of thing. Get the feeling this game could actually be tactical enough that a map with maybe using HeroClix figures could be very, very cool, but it's not necessary, and I think it might be kind of fun to try out. That would, of course, kind of require people to be playing in person. I did pick this up on Roll20 as well because I wanted to see what their implementation is like. The last thing in here is a short adventure. It's a very basic, slightly silly adventure that even as I was reading it, I was going, oh, well, this is all just a big distraction and obviously something else is going on. And yes, that's exactly what it is. But it is a nice little adventure so that if people want to jump in and start playing something and see how it goes, there you go. It includes this nice map, which obviously is right here. And they do define what all the rooms are and everything. So you could run it tactically as not a board game, but like as a little miniatures game where you're moving people around, and that can be a lot of fun. That was certainly a lot of the fun with Champions back in the old days and I can't eat thousands of hours of Champions. But running around the map was always a lot of fun, and it was a very fun tactical experience. Here you go, rank 1 Blaster Hydra agents, and they are very, very simple characters. You can see this would effectively be a rank 1 starting character. They have 5 points to split up between their 6 stats, and they've opted to put 1 into every single stat except their logic. And they're going to be really easy to hit. They're going to be really easy to take out of the fight. They don't have huge attacks to attack you with. They have just 1 power, which is sniping. So they have some kind of ranged attack. And then that's basically it. And then there's a glossary and index. So if you need to look something up, it's here. Here is the character sheet. Let me switch this to just be visible of only the character sheet. And you can kind of see that they really have things jammed in here. The information over at the top over here is your character's code name, real name, appearance, distinguishing characteristics, age, gender, height, weight, blah, blah, blah. The section below that with kind of the deep red is where all your stats go and their modifiers. On the top on this side are your... in fact, I can't even read it on this screen. Are your... oh, that's where your code name is, but also your archetype, your rank, your health, your karma, your focus, um, your fight damage, your range damage, your speed, whatever speeds that you happen to have is that last little box in the center, just above where the deep red starts. And then this long column on the top is for listing all of your traits. And then this down here on the bottom is where you list your powers. And there's a spot there for the name of the power, what set it comes from, its cost, probably in focus, the summary of what it does, so you can write something down here to keep track of it. I don't think there's enough room unless you're a really tiny writer. Its duration, and then the type of action it takes. So, and there is a second page as well to this character sheet, so that if you do have more powers than what's available on the first page, you can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And they wisely enough, between the first sheet and the second sheet, have a total of 17 different powers that you could list here. And that is good because you can have, yeah, that's right, you get 17 towers at maximum, and then you could have potentially more traits. And there's plenty of lines for those traits. There's also information on this page of the character sheet for your personality, your history, a character picture, any equipment you have. And then in the very back of the book are rules references. In toto, I honestly would have to tell you I am super curious to try this game out. I fear it's unbalanced in a way that most people, or a lot of people, aren't going to recognize, and they're going to expect to be able to play a lower ranked character in the same game with a much higher ranked character, but the game is not intended to work like that. And that's what I really wish they had stated flatly and plainly in the rules. But I'm looking forward to playing it, and I'm down to play it because it takes so much of the time-consuming part of games like Champions, where you're rolling a handful of dice, like 10 or 12 or even 20 dice, and adding them up, and replaces it with rolling 3d6 and just adding bigger numbers. So you roll 3d6, say you get 12, and then you add that to whatever your bonus is of 24. So there, you've got a 36. That's pretty easy math, really. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a neat thing to try. I'm looking forward to how it works. I'm looking forward to giving Matt feedback. I hope other people check this out and get into it. I know this was a really long video, but I had a lot to say, and I'm looking forward to this. So let me know what you all think, and I would love to hear from you. I'd love to see if you come up with any write-ups for characters. If any of the information that I have imparted here is useful, I would also love to hear that. If you think I've missed the mark on something, please let me know. If you have other things to add to it, I can come back to this. Maybe I'll try writing up some characters and showing them off. Whatever people are interested in, I would love to hear it. There you go. That is it for today's edition of Standby for Adventure. And now you can stand by for adventure in the Marvel Multiverse. Have yourself a good day, and I will see you on Thursday for something new and Thaco Thursday. Have a good day.